Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about SaveState, which is a user-friendly GUI application for Windows and Linux to easily back up and restore video game save files, especially useful for games without cloud saves or for managing multiple save locations. And SaveState just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, SaveState version 1.4.5 is the latest update, and they titled this one Data Safety, Inline Editing, and New Emulators. They go on to say here, this release introduces a powerful new data resiliency system to protect your configuration, major quality of life improvements like inline profile editing, and expands our ever-growing list of supported emulators. Restoring backups is now more flexible than ever, and game detection has become even smarter. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd say that SaveState almost came out with brand new options to save its own state. And I'm all for it. I think these are great options overall, and I really like this one here. They say you can now restore your saves directly from a .zip backup archive, even without a profile selected. And as for new emulator support, SaveState now supports Citron, which is Nintendo Switch, and Vita 3K, which is PS Vita. If you are interested in SaveState and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, link will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. And speaking about updates, next up, we're talking about Box64. For those unfamiliar with Box64, Box64 enables running x86 64 Linux programs, including games on non-x86 64 Linux systems, such as ARM. And Box64 just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 0.3.8 is the latest update for Box64. And this version has a whole bunch of fixes, improvements, and brand new features. They say here this version introduces DynaCache, a disk cache for the generated native code. It is not enabled by default for now, but it will use cache file at present by default. It can dramatically speed up the load of the program. And this version also improves in the volatile metadata handling. There's a massive compatibility improvement for Box32 and on all Dynarec in general too. And on top of that, there's more work on AVX support. Unity 3D games on Wayland are working now, and even more. I'd recommend checking out this changelog if you wanted to learn more about Box64. And speaking about big changes, next up we're talking about Sega Dreamcast emulation with nullDC. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you're not familiar with nullDC, it's a Sega Dreamcast emulator, and on GitHub here it says a hopefully accurate Sega Dreamcast emulator to be written in Rust. NullDC is being rewritten in Rust. So at the time of filming, NullDC version 2.0.0 pre has just been released. And this is a pre-release, so don't expect it to be perfect. Expect a lot of bugs and issues with it. However, it's a very big step forward for NullDC. Additionally here, if you're interested in learning more about NullDC and maybe even some emu drama, there is a blog post by SKMP that you can check out. Again, link will be in the description below. There is an apology here to Flying Head from Flycast. Hopefully things can be mended and everything is all water under the bridge and things can move forward without any more drama. On top of that, I'm not necessarily certain if there will be a NullDC Android port, but we'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts about NullDC in the comments below. So next up here, we're talking about Asus, and you may notice I'm not at my desk right now, not in front of the green screen. I'm in front of a completely different green screen. I was debating on whether or not to come, but they invited me to a very nice event here, and it's at Steam Whistle Brewery. As soon as I heard brewery, I was in. So instead of wasting time out here, let's go on in there and check out to see what they have to show. And lo and behold, TechDweeb was also at the event, and he seemed pretty excited. And by pretty excited, I mean really excited. He was absolutely pumped, and I can understand why. I mean, there were a lot of cool people there, including Joey. On top of that, they had a ton of cool devices on display to learn more about and to even check out. I'm not gonna lie, I had a ton of fun testing out the strength of Ethernet ports on laptops. This one supported a 5-pound weight and didn't break. I was shocked. And absolutely no surprise, the star of the show was the Asus Xbox ROG Ally and Ally X. It was really awesome to get our hands on these things and test them out and put them through their initial paces. And also, I do have some initial thoughts. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was impressed with the device overall. I was impressed with how quiet it was. I was impressed with the battery life that we were testing out during the event and the overall performance. However, the grips on these things I was not really impressed with. A lot of people found them extremely comfortable, but for me, my fingers kept finding the place where the grip attaches to the console, the little crevice there, and these screw holes, and it was not the most comfortable experience. We even got to check out prototypes for the Xbox ROG Ally and Ally X, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of like the grips from the original one, the prototype, the best. And also, for full transparency, we encountered a few bugs switching between desktop and gaming mode, but overall the experience was pretty good. I was impressed with the Ally X, and I was having a really hard time determining what my favorite part about the event was. Was it the beer? Was it the early access to the ROG Ally and Ally X? Or was it the beer? Really big toss up there. Overall, I'd say the event was amazing. It was great to see the Ally X, the work that went into it, and the passion from Asus and also Microsoft in partnering to create this thing. I do think that this may be the handheld to take a look at if you're looking at Windows gaming handhelds. I mean, if you wanted to see these things in action and see some pretty early reviews and initial impressions on them, I'd recommend first checking out TechDweeb's video here titled "The Xbox Ally X is Looking Good." It's a very good video, well put together, and there's a lot of thought that went into it. And secondly here, I'd recommend checking out Joey's retro handhelds review titled ROG Xbox Ally Review, the Xbox Series S handheld. And that'll give you a good look between the Xbox Ally X and the Xbox Ally from TechDweeb and Joey. Two different opinions on two different devices. And on a quick side note here, I'm still waiting to hear back from Asus. I pitched a video idea and I'm not necessarily certain if they're brave enough to let me do it. We'll have to wait and see. But I am looking at trying to use the Xbox Ally X as an everyday PC and possibly a substitute for a laptop. I mean, the price of these things, they're not cheap, but at the same time, they are a lot cheaper than a lot of gaming laptops out there. And I think the versatility and the price to performance ratio may be very interesting to someone looking for a gaming laptop or looking to replace their PC with something a little bit smaller and portable and possibly feasible as a daily driver and a handheld gaming device. Let me know your thoughts. So on a quick side note here, Asus, if you are watching this video, be brave and let's see if this thing can be a substitute for a desktop or laptop. And secondly, huge shout out for Asus for inviting me to that event and showing me all of their goods and also behind the curtain. It was pretty cool to see. And speaking about behind the curtain, next up we're kind of talking about the opposite of that. We're talking about in front of the curtain and talking about Summer Games Fest, because the curtain hasn't lifted yet on Summer Games Fest 2026. Anyways here, Jeff Keighley has posted save the date. Summer Game Fest streams live on Friday, June 5th, 2026. And from the iconic Dolby Theater in Los Angeles. From my understanding, this is a brand new venue for the event. I think previously it was at the YouTube Theater in Inglewood, California. I could be wrong with that one, but I don't think so. Curious to see how it looks in June, and feel free to mark your calendars or don't, because I will be talking about this probably closer to the event and probably during the event. And speaking about quick updates, next up we're talking about Battlefield 6, and if you're a fan of Battlefield 6, you might be excited to know that it has sold, it's being reported, 6.5 million plus copies. That is massive. Feel free to check out this Insight newsletter for more information on the matter. And they say here that this translates to more than $350 million in gross revenue, not net. That is a whole heck of a lot of money, and this seems to be very successful for EA. And I'm curious to see if this momentum continues. And speaking about sales, but not selling a bunch, instead we're talking about the opposite and canceling sales. And it's being reported by a number of people that their pre-orders for Pokemon ZA have been canceled. So if you have a pre-order for Pokemon, you might want to double check on that and see how it's doing. I mean, taking a look on this Reddit post, and there seem to be a number of people who have had their pre-orders canceled, and that is a little bit concerning. And speaking about canceled stuff, next up here we're talking about the Intellivision Amiico, and this was not a headline I was expecting to see today. It's up on Time Extension. I do recommend checking out the article for more information. But listen to the headline. Not interested in selling it to haters. An Intellivision Amiico just sold on eBay for over $2,200. Now, based on what I've seen so far, this does seem to be one of the legitimate consoles that were produced, and it's being speculated that the seller is the former CEO of PlayOn. We're going to have to wait and see if more of these things go up for pre-order, if more of these things go up for sale, but if you are interested in getting a piece of history per se, you may want to pay attention to eBay. Let me know your thoughts about this one. Moving on, and we're switching from hardware to software and talking about Linux software here in Zorin OS. And if you're migrating from Windows 10 to possibly Linux, if you didn't want to migrate to Windows 11, Zorin OS may be something you want to keep your eye on. And Zorin OS 18 has just dropped. So in yesterday's video, we talked about the Zorin OS 18 beta, and now it's hit mainline. And this one looks really close to Windows. They say here it's got a stunning new look. Also, advanced window tiling, and it's made simple. And taking a look, that does look pretty simple. On top of that, they say seamless integration with web apps, as well as OneDrive files integration. Now, there's both free and paid versions of Zorin. The paid version gets you a few more bells and whistles and support, where I'd say the free version is probably good enough for most people. And I said this in my previous video, and I'll say it again today. If you're looking for a Windows-like experience as much as possible, Zorin OS may be worth checking out. Or if you're hopping into Linux and wanting to learn Linux, Linux Mint is probably worth checking out, or Bazzite, or Pop! OS, or if you really wanted to get into Linux, something like EndeavourOS. And speaking about operating systems, but switching from PC to mobile here and talking about something that could be absolutely huge. We're talking about GrapheneOS. And listen to this headline: GrapheneOS could break Pixel exclusivity in 2026. With major OEM partnership. I recommend checking out this article for more information on the matter. Unfortunately, I don't know who that major OEM is. I think it's safe to say, though, that it's not Fairphone. They say that Fairphone are not secure devices meeting their requirements. Fairphone lags far behind on support for current Android versions and providing important privacy and security patches for drivers and firmware. Important hardware-based security features are also missing. So we're going to have to wait to see what happens moving forward, but I would say here, if Android continues to take steps that arguably don't resonate well at all with the community, like blocking sideloading, and even using the word sideloading is controversial in itself. Anyways, if Android continues on this path, I think there may be some alternative OSs people start checking out a little bit more regularly, and they may increase in popularity. We'll have to wait and see. And speaking about waiting and seeing, with an emphasis on seeing, next up here we're talking about Samsung's Project Muhan. The XR headset launches on October 21st at a Worlds Wide Open event. From my understanding, this device will be called the Galaxy XR, and there is right now a $100 credit with reservation if you are interested. Unfortunately, I don't know pricing details at this point, but I'm assuming it's not going to be cheap. We'll have to wait and see, and not wait very long at all. Tuesday, October 21st again is when we're going to know more about it. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. And if you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.